specifically for virus situations, preventive and remedial. Why don't you go over again what you think, if that was your concern, not to tell anybody what to do, but what would your protocol be? And this is a private platform that doesn't get censored, and we can pretty much say whatever we want.
Right. So this is where I would be recommending some more of those expensive oils.
Okay.
But again, those expensive oils, you don't necessarily need to use all the time. And so they can last you a year, 2 years. So Melissa essential oil, some people know that from coming from the lemon balm plant. Okay. So it's lemony, so it's a lemony, citrusy smelling, tasting. Now, when I put it in my mouth, it does feel a little bit warm and spicy, almost peppery, just so that people know that. But it's incredibly antiviral, but in a safe way. Okay. And frankincense is wonderful in that it has here's another sciencey word, sesquiterpene component. And that means it can pass the blood-brain barrier. So with bad things, you don't want it to pass the blood-brain barrier. But with frankincense, you do, because sometimes we have problems in our brain that how else are you going to get it there? Right. Now, one thing I really should have mentioned in the previous segment was that essential oils, when you put them on your skin, they absorb into your bloodstream within 20 seconds. That's how small the molecules are, and that's your skin, is able to absorb that. And then it has affected every cell in your body in 20 minutes. And so when we're dealing with something, like right now we're talking about this new virus and however many there actually are, right? Yeah. It's safe to use the essential oils every 20 minutes. When you're really trying to fight something, you can apply a drop to the bottom of your feet every 20 minutes. You can take a drop under your tongue every 20 minutes. You could do both of those things every 20 minutes. Now, listen to your body, obviously. If you're starting to feel some of a too much of a detoxifying effect, then slow down, how much you're using and how often. But the rule is that frequency trumps dosage. So using less more often is more impactful than using more contents. Yeah. Less often. Right. So I'll give you an example, since we're in the private chat. I'll give you an example how I've been able to not be prescribed a prescription for the last 10 years. Isn't because I no longer get bladder infections. I do. I get them 3 times a year, we'll say, because I don't document it. But I will use 3 drops each of oregano essential oil in an empty gel capsule. I make myself my own pill, basically. 3 drops of oregano, 3 drops of lemon oil, 3 drops of juniper berry oil, 3 drops of celery seed oil, and if there's room in the capsule, I might add some peppermint. And the reason for the peppermint would be because the oregano oil is hot and spicy, so I don't want to feel like I have an explosion going on in my stomach because it's going to warm you up. So the peppermint is really more of the tummy tamer, digestive, cool it off factor. Right. And so that sounds like a lot of essential oils, doesn't it?
Five, was it 5 of them?
It's like three of this, 3 of that, 3 of this, 3 of that, and maybe a little more. So that could be quite a few drops.
What was the second one right after oregano?
So it was oregano, lemon. Lemon's great for the kidneys, like the nephrons or whatever they're called in the kidneys, makes them really happy. Juniper berry is really, really great for kidneys and just the whole urinary system. Celery seed is a new one for me. Celery seed is also really great for that system, and so much that I don't even remember what else it's really good for, but it's good for other things too.
Okay.
And so I used to not do that, but now that I have that, I do that. And peppermint was just always the one I used for kind of a tummy tamer, but I don't so much need it anymore now that I have the lemon, juniper, and the celery seed. It kind of helps to cool off the oregano anyway. So you don't have to have the peppermint in there. But what I'll do is I will take that recipe capsule that I just told you. I could do that every hour until I stop feeling attacked, if you will, until I stop hurting. I could take one every hour until I stop hurting. Now, that's quite a lot of essential oils, but I can handle that. And so maybe somebody else might need to do 1 drop each of those or 2 drop each of those. However much we figure out is what we need. We don't need to use more of that because then that's just wasteful and unnecessary. But I've discovered that works well for me. And I could take one every hour for a few hours, maybe 3 or 4 hours until I start feeling better. And then after that, I kind of taper it off and I take it like an antibiotic. Then I'm going to take it 3 times a day for, 5 days. Okay.
And after 5 days, usually okay.
Really after the 2nd day, I'm okay. But if I'm being prudent, I keep taking it. If I'm being lazy, I stop taking it after day 2. Yeah, and lots of water, obviously, is great. So I give that example as kind of to help us have an idea of what we can do for these kind of unknown, scary things that come up that we're like, we don't know what to do. But I would be using frankincense, Melissa, the rose oil on the spine. I mentioned the On Guard, so you can use that internally as well. And I'll tell you a reason why you might do that. And sometimes I put that in my bladder capsule also, and I'll tell you why. But for sure, that's the number one that I would be diffusing in the air to kill viruses and bacteria in the air and on surrounding surfaces.
Which one of those are you talking about? You said for sure that's the one.
The On Guard blend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So here's another sciencey word. So there's this sciencey word called quorum sensing, and that's some fairly new research. At least it was a couple years ago. And quorum sensing is where cinnamaaldehydes is a component in cinnamon, and I believe cassia, maybe clove, but let's say cinnamon because I know that for sure. And cinnamon is in the On Guard blend. Okay. So cinnamaaldehydes can affect quorum sensing, and quorum sensing is where bacteria communicate with one another. Okay. And so for sometimes I'll put On Guard in my capsule because the oregano is like your killer, and the cinnamon in the On Guard is the thing that interrupts. It like cuts all the communication, so it like takes out the cell towers and the internet. Right. So it cuts the quorum sensing is the communication between a bacteria, and the cinnamaaldehydes, which is in cinnamon, can squash that quorum sensing communication. So if you have your killers, oregano, and you have oregano oregano is one that I would have on that list too. And you have your breaking out your communication. You have a really great team. You have a really great army there of tools. Yeah. So currently right now, oregano, On Guard, the copaiba, and then if a person can afford it, then the frankincense, melissa, and rose would also be really great tools.
Okay.
So the first three I would get, because they're more affordable, would be oregano, copaiba, and On Guard.
Okay.
And then the three extras would be frankincense, melissa, and rose.
Okay. Okay. Now you mentioned the oils going across the blood-brain barrier, and it brings up
the frankincense. Yeah, because of the sweater beans. Yeah.
Right. So it brings
There's
up
a few oils.
an interesting subject, because one of the damages from vaccines that they don't want really people to know about is that there's a deposit of toxic metals in the brain, which can disrupt the communication between neurons and cause autism. It's the number one cause of autism, without any question, all the vaccines. And so a lot of people are interested in, once you have that situation, getting the metal out of the brain. Is there anything that kind of aids with that in the essential oil world?
So, two particular essential oils come to my mind as far as chelating heavy metals out of the body. I do not know about their blood-brain barrier efficacy, but cilantro essential oil and helichrysum essential oil, which helichrysum is a little pricey. I did just sell a bottle of that today to a lady for $70.
Wow. How do you spell it?
Just kind of in my town. So helichrysum, oh man, you're challenging me. So it's HELICHRYSUM, I believe.
Okay, yeah, because most people have never heard of it, so that way they can find it if they know the spell. Yeah,
and if you smelled it, it might smell a little bit like a chamomile, or might smell a little bit like a Band-Aid. Okay. Literally like a band, how Band-Aids have a smell. So it might kind of smell like that. It's not like, a favorite thing, but
okay,
it's not terrible.
Okay, yeah, that's useful to know about.
Yeah. And as far as like if someone did want to work on brain health, a great just everyday daily helper tip would be 2 drops of frankincense under the tongue, especially if you hit a wall at 2 p.m. for energy. 2 drops. And if somebody is trying to heal from cancer, or having been affected by cancer drugs, they're trying to keep cancer away. Frankincense, a couple drops under the tongue. It's going to kind of taste like a sweet tree resin type of flavor. It's mild and gentle, so you don't need to, as long as you can handle how it tastes. And what people find is after a while, they actually love it and crave the taste, once they kind of get into a habit.
So you don't have to dilute it, in other words?
You don't have to dilute it.
Okay, neat. And let's just remind people that if they want to learn more about all this stuff, they can go to your YouTube channel, right?
Correct.
Which is
Essential Oil Stories.
Right. And it's basically little mini classes and tutorials and things like that.
Yes, exactly. So what I'm working on doing is creating a video for each essential oil, which I do not have yet, but that's what I'm working on. And then other topics that come up, like my latest videos are topics that I feel are more relevant to the current times, even though I'm not talking about coronavirus in the video. I'm just giving information that I think would be useful to people right now, because I feel like it's useful at any time for any reason. Like, I talked today a little bit about bacteria, and the reason why is because it's still a real thing, and we don't know what the future holds as far as dealing with bacteria.
Right.
The bacteria that we don't want. I mean, our bodies have bacteria.
Yeah, 90% of our cells are that.
Yeah. In fact, that's like what Candida is for, is our body, so our body can decompose when we're gone.
Yeah. Okay, so go take the classes at the YouTube channel, and if you need essential oils, does the channel show how to buy them too, or do they need to go to the website?
I do have some recent videos. I have a 5-minute video on how to get a wholesale account and order your essential oils in 5 minutes. Okay, 5-minute video. Good. Yeah, and then also a video on how to reorder after you already have your wholesale account, how to reorder them the next time you want to. Okay,
perfect. Good. Well, hopefully people get in touch with you and start some new communication. So.
Well, that would be so much fun for them. And me.
And you too. All right. Yeah. I'll talk to you soon.